Can you hear that? The Arctic winds are like blowing through. Everything is shaking. The wind is coming through. Oof. And I was outside before. It's very, very windy. Like the ice age is blowing through. Sounds like you're in the tundra. There's just wind. Is that really just going? Jeez, you're like, what the heck am I listening to? Well, hi everybody. Don't mind me. I'm just listening to the howling winds outside. Well, thanks for stopping by the show today. My name is Michael. I am a woman's photographer from New Jersey. Each and every week, we put on a little shoe to answer questions about women's photography. Because as we know, it's a veritable minefield out there trying to choose a photographer. So we answer some questions every week. So that way you can choose your photographer wisely, enjoy your session, and walk away with some beautiful photos and going, you know what? I'm really glad I went in and did that session, because if you've listened to any bit of this show, you'll know it's not as easy as you think. There's tons of missteps out there, tons of ways to veer off the path. You think that something's going to be good, and it's not. And the whole point here is to teach you the questions you need to ask a photographer so you will be in good shape. You can't take anything at face value in this business, so that's what we do. And I'm your doofus host, Michael. If this is your first time here, welcome. For those of you who are back, why? But anyway, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of women through the course of my career, so we host this little show every week, and every episode we talk about one question, give you a little bit of information, a little bit of fun, listen to a weird dude, but in the end, it's all about helping you have a great experience. I don't care about those photographers. I worry about you. Everybody else is out there trying to sell courses to other photographers. This is what photography is in the 2020s. It's like, you're not worried about taking great pictures. These people are worried about selling some kind of course to somebody else. You know, it was a very weird age in photography. But we're not selling any courses here. We're just drinking seltzer, talking about boudoir photography. And thanks for stopping in. I was out this morning. I said we're talking about the wind. And yesterday, it got super windy. And I was driving on the parkway. It was a little after 6 o'clock. I was coming home. And it just started like pouring. Not just like raining. It was just like... Everybody slowed down. You know, they have their hazards. Like, you can't even see. Your windshield wipers going... You can't even see the road. You can't see anything. And the wind is like... It was like... But it's March. And this is like one of those delugey like summer storms that you would do. Like this thunder. There wasn't any thunder or anything, but the rain. And it just didn't stop. It was like the whole way I was coming home. It was just like this pouring rain. All night it was like pouring. I mean, you just hear the rain coming down. So I figured, everything's going to be like soaked. And this morning I woke up and everything was pretty dry. So I decided to go out to the forest, and it was pretty dry. There were some puddles, but it was really windy, but it wasn't cold. And then I was walking around and like pulled something in my groin, right? So I'm like a couple miles in, and suddenly I feel like, ooh, why suddenly can't I walk? So I'm like limping back the past mile or two to get back to my car. So I went out, maybe I didn't warm up enough. I don't know. So I'm limped to my car, grocery store, was limping around at the grocery store, came home. I'll be all right. Just one of those days. So, how are you? Thanks for stopping in. And if you haven't, listen to last week's show, what are some of my most requested boudoir poses. That was a fun episode. Put a little graphical photos up on the screen. Go back after you hear this show. You can listen to that one. I always like talking about poses, some new poses, favorite poses. And this week we're going to have a little bit of a different question, more of a fun one again. And that is, what are like some of the weirdest requests you've ever gotten for a boudoir shoot? And this actually took me a while to think through and and put some stuff together, because you get some strange things once in a while, but it really took me a bit to go back and think. And I was like, and I had to really go, oh yeah, I remember that. No, yeah, I remember that, because it all starts to become a blur. And usually if you run into something that is kind of like shocking, you get like this trauma thing, and you kind of block it out, and you don't like think about it anymore. And then you start to think about it, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that happened. So today we're going to chat about a few interesting session requests that I've had over the years. And boudoir is a creative space. And if you listen to the show, I don't like to say no. I like to always think about, how can we do this? But sometimes people want to take it to the next level, or something that just is. So we're going to do these things I put down on a list today. I'm going to chat about them. Not going to be too long today. So I'm going to go through this, talk about some weird requests I've had, and then we'll let you go. You get back to cooking. You making a shake and bake tonight? You making some shake and bake pork chops, like applesauce, maybe a little salad on the side, just for a little greenery there. Good for you. I don't know what I'm making for dinner. I'll figure it out after I'm done recording today. So we'll talk about a few weird, I always like to say weird requests, but different requests or unexpected requests that I've had over my years. And so you can see what's going on inside. And the first one that came to mind, because I was trying to think way back in the Wayback Machine to when I started, and I don't remember all the details of this conversation, but I remember a woman talking about an ex, talking on the phone. She was like, X, and she kept going on, and pictures, and I didn't know what she was talking about, really. And I tried to get clarification. Still, I wasn't sure what she was talking about. And so she came in, and we're doing her session. As far as I remember, everything was okay. It was just sort of a standard session. And I remember she goes, remember I was telling you about my ex? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. What are you talking about, your ex? And she goes, oh, I'll be right back. And she goes into the room, and she comes back in where I was, and she's holding a couple of pictures, like from her wall, just like framed pictures. And I guess, I don't think they were wedding pictures. They were pictures of her and I guess her husband at the time. I guess they got divorced. So she brings these pictures in, and she's like, here, what am I supposed to do with these pictures? She goes, there, I want you to take my ex-husband out of these photos. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you could just airbrush them out of these pictures, and then give them back to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, these were just like at a picnic. I don't remember what they were. It was like two people standing together, and I was like, well, you said you have Photoshop. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what. Remember, this is way before now. Like now you can click a button and kind of select a person and photo, but it was never like that. For the last 2 years, it was never, ever anything like that. You needed to hire like graphic artists. You had to trace around everything. And it was a process that I had no interest in getting involved in. And I remember her looking at me. She's like, well, you're a photographer, right? I'm like, yeah. She goes, well, just take my ex-husband out of these portraits. And I was like, how? It wasn't a digital picture. She had actual pictures in a frame. So that was like very, very strange. So that didn't, I couldn't do it. I said, at that time, I don't remember if I had a scanner or something. I'm like, well, maybe you could scan the pictures, and then we could find an artist, like I said, a Photoshop artist. I said, I don't know what they charge to go do something. No. I thought you could just like click a button and then he would be gone. And I was like, no. So she brought in like 2 or 3, these big portraits. I don't know what you thought I was going to do there. But obviously, I don't know if I said something to lead her to believe to bring these pictures in, or she just assumed that, like, if you're a photographer, you can take a print and make somebody vanish from the print. So I remember that. That was like a strange request, especially since like you're just standing there and someone comes in and hands you a pile of wall art or wall portraits and expects you to take someone out of a picture, like her 1980s wedding photo or 1990s wedding photo or whatever it was. I remember they were outside. I don't remember what kind of exactly pictures they were, but that was like, caught me a little off guard. Thought that was a little strange. And again, back to the beginning days, I was working on a session with some woman, and I didn't realize, again, she brought in like an animal. I think it was an iguana or some kind of lizard. Remember, it was lizardy and big, and she came in, oh yes, this is my little pet so-and-so, I want him to be in the pic. And this thing looked like a dinosaur, you know, and I couldn't tell if it was like fast, or I'm like, I don't want creepy like things in here. And it wouldn't, and it was like, she would try to hold it, and then it would like start slithering, and she was like always trying to hold this thing, and she wanted to like lay down and put it on her, but every time the thing would just like take off, and it walked with this weird, I remember this weird, that it was going off the side of the bed, and it was falling down, and it was like, didn't know what I guess was going on, was trying to escape, whatever, and she's like chasing this lizard thing around the room, and I'm like, yeah, this is not good. And you know, I don't remember if we got like a couple of pictures or two, but that was a little strange, and it pretty much led to my, you know, no creatures policy, therefore in all my booking materials. And yeah, I don't think it's a great idea to show up with like creatures to your boudoir shoot, especially when the photographer doesn't know, or, you know, I get it. People like their pets, little cute pets and stuff like that, but, you know, bringing creatures in like lizards or iguanas and stuff like that is, can I just get a few shots with my iguana? Like your iguana? So that again was something from way back in the day. That was a little strange. I still remember that thing, like the way it walked, like as this weird, like, and it just like, it wouldn't stay on her, just it would run, and it would slide down off the bed behind the wall, and she's trying to get this thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's just a little too not great for this situation. So, but then you learn, you know, and I haven't had any creepy things come in since. It was just that one time, but I have all my materials now not to bring creatures in to your session. And then another one, and this one was not too long ago. I was talking to a woman, nice lady, and devised this whole session. She wanted to come in, and she had some ideas, and she was like this goth woman, and which is kind of cool. And then, you know, she wanted to do photos just covered in blood. And as I noted, I'm not like an immediate no person. I try to like figure out like a way to do this and stuff. And then, you know, the building that we were working at, it was like very fancy. You know, you have all these duvets and stuff like it's all, you can't like have someone walking around with getting that all over the place. So I'm thinking, what are we going to do? And so she came in, and she had with her, it's not obviously real blood. It's just, I don't know where you get it, like Halloween blood, you know, with like a big container of this blood. And so we did her sessions, and we're both chatting about it. And then in this building, there were showers. So I figured, well, if we're going to do this, maybe we could do it like, and there were big showers. We could do it like there. So that way, at least that's contained in the shower. And she's like, that's a good idea. So we poured this stuff on top of her, and she wanted to be like nude in the shower. And then I remember I was putting the cap back on, and I got some of it on me, and I went over to the sink, and I was like washing my hands, and it wasn't coming off. Like my fingers were all stained red, and I was like, ooh, this isn't good, because now it's all over her, it's all over the shower, and this is not going to turn out so good. So we did these poses, and they actually turned out pretty cool. You know, it made them very edgy, and it wasn't for kind of thing for everybody. But afterwards, I was like, glad I did this. And it turned out everything cleaned up okay, because I showed her my hands, and I could see her eyes go like, "Ugh," just for a moment, like she had this stuff like all dripping down her, and I'm like, "Ugh," and I was afraid it was in the shower on the tiles. It wasn't going to come off the tiles or anything, and I'm thinking, "Ooh, this I'm going to get killed for staining everything all red in this bathroom." And but it all wiped down. We scrubbed, everything sort of went away. And I guess eventually it came off my hands. I don't remember her having any stuff stained on her, so I don't know why it stained on my hands. And we did the pictures. The pictures turned out really like kind of cool, and she loved it, and I loved it. So in that situation, I remember that, it's not every day that someone comes in and wants to be covered in blood for a photo shoot. So that one turned out more for the positive. Very cool. Glad I did that. And then there was another time, as I'm looking at my notes, woman had this idea. Again, it wasn't the whole session, but she wanted to come in and she wanted to do photos with herself. And immediately, again, I was like, what do you mean, like, yourself? Well, what she meant was she wanted like two of her in like some of her photos. And see, this is one of these ideas, again, I'm like, something I would have never thought of. I'd never had anybody ask me about anything like that before. But essentially, if there's like a bed, she wanted to like lay down, and she wanted to lay down like sort of next to herself. She wanted to be in the picture like twice and doing kind of like a pose. Why? I don't know. Or somewhere she was standing or laying down or like looking like she was looking at herself. So I'm like, let's figure this out. This shouldn't be too hard. So we set up the camera again on a tripod because I didn't want it to move. And I think what we did is she got in one position, and then we took a picture, and then she went to the other position, and we took another picture, keeping everything the same. And then I was able to composite the two of them together. So she was in like the picture twice, like talking to herself or looking at herself, and like a mirror image kind of a thing. So that was like sort of interesting and turned out a little bit better than I thought. She was like changing outfits. So I think like one of her was in like red underwear, the other one was like in black. I think it was like a good girl, bad girl kind of a thing. And she may put angel wing or little devil ears on the other. I don't remember exactly, but kind of a cute sort of idea that I would have never thought of like in a million years. I don't know where she saw this or thought of it, but we kind of wind up putting like two together. And again, this was back in the day, and I am like no Photoshop editing guru, hardly. So it took me a while to figure out how to sort of do that. And I imagine now with AI and stuff like that, it would be a bazillion times easier to composite or put two people in one photo. You could select a person and easily probably put it in another shot. But 10 years or so ago, it just wasn't that simple. So we did it, and that was another fun one. I like it when people come in and have like interesting ideas like that. So, and along those same lines, because I thought of that, and it was really about the same time with this woman. I think she was married, and her husband was into astronauts or space or something like that too. And she wanted to, could you do pictures and make it look like I'm on the moon, like the moon? And so once again, I was like, So this was probably beyond something that I could do at that time. So she dressed up. I think she had like this silvery bra thing on and looked like an astronaut. She may have even had a helmet or something like that. And we just put her against a plain white wall. And I took some photos of her standing, or maybe even a couple like on a bed or something like that. And this is when I had to go to artists, like digital artists, and get her permission to send these photos out to have them composited, because that's when you need someone who knows how to do that and how to pay. You got to pay quite a bit of money to have, her cut out, and then she would put in a moon background, and you have to match the colors and the tints and everything like that to make it look like this woman was like sexy space woman and stuff like that. So that was a lot of work again at that time to do. And, but that was fun. It was kind of cute. It's like interesting to do. I didn't do most of the hard work. I had someone else sort of do it, but someone asked me to like make them look they were on the moon. Kind of like a unusual kind of a request that I've had. And I've had also along these lines, like one woman who wanted to be like invisible in her pictures. I'm like, what the hell do you mean invisible? And again, she's talking to me and not really explaining it like sort of very well, but it turns out she wanted to be like in silhouette. I didn't know, I don't think she knew exactly how to describe it. Like she wanted to just be standing by a window or something, or taking the picture into the light. So she would be like just all blacked out and like silhouetted and by the bed and be kind of silhouetted in a couple of pictures. She must have seen this like somewhere. She did not explain it to me really well. So that wasn't too hard, I don't think, to do. I remember we did a couple by the window and did some silhouettes, but it was more just she did not how to explain it to me. She was like, I want to be invisible. I want to be invisible. I was like, what do you mean invisible in the picture? But then I finally understood what she meant. I think she sent me like a picture or something, or like an example. And I was like, oh, yeah, all right. Well, see, we could do that. So it just turned out it was like some moody silhouettes where she didn't want to see. She just wanted to see like the outline of her body, and to do a silhouette in some of her photos. So that was interesting that, people see things and they want to come in and do it. And then that leads me to one of my stranger requests. Strange. And this goes back a bit to, and we were working in this kind of building that was a little, I don't know, like antique-y looking and kind of farmy retro looking or something. And she came in, a nice woman again, and then she wanted to do some pictures with some props. So I'm like, all right, what do you got? And she goes down, she comes in with a few like shopping bags or grocery bags. And talk about like creepy. She starts taking these antique dolls out of like these bags, and she wanted to lay in the bed and be like surrounded by these like antique, really creepy looking dolls. And I remember she wanted them to stand. They kept falling over and wound up like sitting them down. I'm like, these dolls are not going to stand on a bed, especially when you're lying in the bed. I don't ask me what this is all about. I don't know. There was maybe 10 of them. Just like, these weird, it just weirds me out even thinking about it. Dolls. I think she was like holding one and she wanted the dolls all like sort of around her. And that was just like super creepy. And I was like, what are you doing? I don't remember if she had a great explanation for why she wanted this. I just remember she wanted them to be standing like looking at her, and the dolls kept falling over because a doll isn't going to stand like on a bed, especially when a person is like, I don't know if they would have even stand them on a floor. You need like a stand or something to make them up, but they were just like these weird, creepy, Chucky looking antique dolls. So, and then she was basically, I don't remember what she was wearing, but it was like the whole thing was just like, just very, very strange. And I was like, one person's is another person's joy. I guess weirdness is another person's joy or happiness. So that was an interesting afternoon, for sure. And I always think about like, who are these guys? Who are these guys that who's getting these photos? Like, some guy going to look at this? Maybe there is, and it's like, oh yeah, that's so, it's so hot. I don't know, but that was like a very interesting request. It wasn't like planned. I didn't know about it. She just kind of popped it out at the end of the session. These bags full of creepy dolls. It's just very weird. Don't do that. Don't do that. And then I'm just going to finish up with one here that was weird, I guess, in a sense. It never wound up happening, but this woman was very serious about it. And there was a woman who wanted to do a photo session in a hot air balloon one time. And I'm like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, I just always wanted to go up. And I'm like, a hot air balloon? Like, how? I'm like, isn't that like, I don't know anything about balloons, but isn't that just like 3 feet and you're standing in like a woven basket with some dude in there? And like, how is this going to work? She's like, oh, like she obviously didn't think this out very well. I'm thinking, how can you do a photo shoot in like 9 square feet of space with the wind and the sun? And like, all I could see is someone like wanting to get up on the edge. I'll just sit on the edge of the basket, and like she was gonna be like, oh, falling all the way to the ground. It like never happened. But this woman, I think, was serious about doing this, and I don't remember the details of how she had a balloon or where the balloon was going to be. And I would have never done it. Wouldn't have been something that I would be interested in doing. Or I think there's a lot of safety issues, and personally, I don't want to go up in a hot air balloon. So that was very weird. I always think about that one as well. So that's what I got for you. That's some weird requests that I've had over the years. But as you can see, it's not always bad. Interesting requests. Don't judge people, because you never know how things are going to turn out. And everybody has their thing. Everybody has their little bit of happiness. And whether they're just being silly, like maybe with a bunch of creepy dolls is more of a joke. Hopefully it's not a serious thing to show somebody. But that's what you get in this universe sometimes. You never know who's going to come walking through that door or what the requests may be. So it's all about fun, all about creativity. And people, sometimes they force you to push your boundaries or come up with things or ideas that you never would have thought of. And it turns out pretty good. So I don't mind. Like I said, I don't like to say no to people. I'll listen to their ideas and carefully consider them and think of the logistics of it, and is there any like artistic value to it? Let's get people with like coming to you with interesting ideas and stuff. But not everything is for me, but I try to accommodate as much as I can with people. So all I can say is dream big, but keep your feet on the ground. Not going up in any balloons. Don't send me a session request that you want to take me hot air ballooning and do some lingerie photos 300 feet up in the air. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So that's it. That's what I got from Strange Stories for you for this week. A little bit of a lighthearted show. So thanks for listening. Enjoy your shake and bake. Still figuring out what I may make for dinner in a little bit, but I think I'm going to take a nap first. Heal my own groin from whatever I pulled. Lay down for a bit and be okay tomorrow. And, we keep on moving on. So I have a client request. I have a phone call I got to get on tonight. I think at 7:30 to talk to somebody, woman getting married. So I got that. And then we're just bracing for the spring bridal season, which is like now. And people show up late. I've already had 3 or 4 inquiries for beach sessions this year. I got another one I got to respond to today. It's in March. I already got some like February, which hasn't happened the past couple of years. So maybe we're getting back on track this year, sort of a little bit with business to see. So things are a little bit busier and got some things to do. So I'll have a lot of work to catch up with these clients later today. And it's always fun chatting with new people and hearing their ideas about their sessions. Most of them are just very normal and standard, but you never know. You never know what somebody wants or what they want to do, and that's the great thing about women's photography. Every session is kind of unique, and you never know where it's going to wind up. So that's the fun part about my job. So thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by, and be safe out there. Don't forget to ask some questions, and enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.